Parapsychology Today, a program of investigation into the realms of the unknown. Suspend your mind for a moment and journey to a world beyond the five senses. Parapsychology Today is a program exploring ideas, theories, and concepts that have been around since ancient times. We'll journey to outer worlds and inner worlds. We'll look into such phenomena as past lives, UFOs, and hauntings. And we'll explore psychic ability as it relates to human potential. We do not intend to prove or persuade, but rather present theories and personal stories of ventures into the world of parapsychology. Whatever your beliefs, we hope this program will start you thinking about a reality beyond the five senses.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Parapsychology Today. I'm your host, Pauline Nortness, and today we're going to talk to Carmen Lee, who is a coach and an energy healer, and we decided to call this Living a Limitless Life. So there's a reason for that. We'll talk about that. Carmen, welcome to our show. So happy to have you here. Now, you are in California. This is exciting for me. I'm able to interview people who are not here with me. It's a little different, but it's fun. So tell us a little bit about your background. You're a coach and an energy healer. Tell us, how you got your background, how you got into this.
Sure. Thank you, Pauline, for having me. It's a great joy to be here. And I was trained and educated as a civil engineer, and I was working as engineer for 20 plus years. I got into holistic healing because of my personal health. I got into some digestive issues and different kind of symptoms early on in my life. And I went to see the doctor, and they said, well, you can take this for the next several decades of your life. And I was thinking, well, I was in my 30s, and I wasn't ready to take medications for the rest of my life. And so I was going to look for answers. They say when the student is ready, teachers show up, and soon after that, I got in touch with a relatively local college called California College of Ayurveda, and I started studying this East Indian medicine to really just help myself. As part of the training, they require people to see patients. And so that I got into residency program, and I was doing it for free, and people were getting results, and they started paying me. And so I was like, oh, now I have a business. Because I already had a day job, I was fine with that. But now because people are paying money, I had to start a business. And this went on for a while, and then I went through another healing crisis. And this time I have tumors in my body, and I used Ayurveda to help me. But it was getting better, and then it got back to bigger. And so something systematic wasn't quite addressed. And then I was looking for answers, and luckily there was like another person referring me to learn about energy healing. And so I started learning about energy healing again to help myself. And I was still learning, and one day a coworker came into my office and said she was concerned about her friends over in another state. There was a couple, they're healthcare providers, and in that Indian reservation, there was a lot of abuse and addictions, and they were struggling with helping the patients. And I got an intuitive hit to help them, but I was like, I'm still learning. I don't know what to do. And so just go do it. And so I told my friend, I said, well, I'm just learning here. If you guys are willing to try this, we can give it a shot and then see what happens. So the five of us, so the two people in that Indian reservation, my friend and her husband and I, got a phone call, and I did whatever I was learning. And within a week, my friend came back and said, hey, they noticed the difference in the people there. People who used to book appointments to see these healthcare providers, and they wouldn't show up for appointments. And all of a sudden they started to show up, and more people booking appointments to improve their own well-being. And when they were there, they were actually asking, what is the meaning of my life? I didn't have language for it back then. And then I realized after talking and learning and all that to different people, I realized that it's a shift in consciousness that allowed these people to be motivated to improve their well-being. And at that time, I was working with a mentor, Marcy Shimoff, and I said, this happened. I don't know what I'm doing, but this happened. And she said, well, just offer free meditation. once a month and see what happens. And that was in 2018. And so I've been offering these meditations to people, and people would tell me the results they got instantaneously, like right after or during the sessions. And then I started getting clients. People wanted to see me for private sessions. And then this continued on till 2019. I was guided to leave my job. And so I'm doing this full time as a whole person guide.
You know, your life is just so synchronistic. It sounds like you have a guardian angel who's directing you. What an amazing story. Do you think maybe, we didn't get into past lives, but maybe you were a healer in a previous lifetime? I mean, it seems like that's what you were meant to do. And you started out doing completely different type of thing. So sometimes our illness is a gift because it got you where you are. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I totally agree, because a lot of the clients that came to see me, they were really focusing on this health issue or relationship challenge they have. And through our work together, they actually uncover different aspects of themselves. So you mentioned about past life, and I was kind of neutral about it. It wasn't like I believe in it or not believe in it, but through my experience working on my own healing and working with clients, we get glimpses of what's in the past. And there were some emotions that came from it. And one way is we can resolve the past, working with ancestral healing and all that. But the other part of it is more and more so these days, probably because of the time we're in, I find that it's not just about clearing what was not unresolved. Yes, it's part of it, but the other part of it is really about retrieving the treasures from the past. So there was energy that we left behind, the skill set that we left behind. I came into this life as being educated to be smart, high IQ, go study and earn a good job, have a good job. I didn't think I was going to be a healer. In fact, connecting with spirit was the last thing I had in mind. Not that I was against spirit, it's just that I thought spirit's over there, I'm just a human over here. So you're over there, I'm here, I'm good. But life has a way to guide me that this is your path, because I definitely believe that there's some past experience I have in previous times that I was doing that. And I'm here now to help people bring that forward in them, even though they might not have known it, just like I didn't know I have it.
You mentioned like leaving your energy somewhere. Now and getting your energy back. Now that's like something called soul retrieval that shamans do. Do you do any soul retrieval? And can you explain that?
Yeah, so I don't technically I do soul retrieval work. What we can say soul is we're a really big being more than a body. So soul is just by including the body as well as the invisible aspect of ourselves. So you can say, I'm calling, it's soul retrieval. You can call it energy. You can call, bringing back or recognizing or waking up the divine within us. There's so many different terms we can use. I find the word energy is more neutral. Sometimes to me anyway, whether we call in God or goddesses, divine energy, the unified field. So they're all kind of the same thing, but different terms resonate with different people. So when I work with people, it's just I have to figure out what words resonate with them, and that supports their healing journey.
I've talked to a lot of energy healers that say a lot of the physical problems we have are unsolved emotions that we have in our,
I believe that in my experience, unresolved emotions, things even as far back as when we were in our mother's womb. I work with people where they could feel the fear from their mother when they were in the womb. And so now I actually had a lawyer I was working with, and she came to me because she was like hyper vigilant, because she was always worried, she was always fearful, even though she was very successful and smart. But she knew she had that in her, and she was like, could you help me? Because I knew I had that. And I picked that up when I was in my mother's womb. And sometimes she will pick it up later on in their life, maybe the first 5 years of their life. But the thing about it is a lot of the current thing that as an adult that we think we're struggling with can always, I would say maybe 95% of the time, not more, trace back to something from long ago that wasn't resolved because we didn't have the tools or we didn't know. It was pushed back in our subconscious mind. Yeah, it's a big piece.
It's amazing that we survived this lifetime when you think about that, being in your mother's womb and picking up your mother's anxieties. It's amazing. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like you have to be lucky enough, like you were, to journey into the right path. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said before, when we are sincere in our search of what is the next thing for us, how can I truly heal? It's not just about dealing with, oh, I have a headache, let me get rid of the headache. It's really wanting to know what's behind the headache.
Exactly.
What's behind the cancer. If we really want to know about ourselves, the right people will show up in our lives. So there are tons of different modalities out there. And I see that had I started with energy healing, that would not have worked because I wasn't ready for that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So I would get my foot in the door with Ayurveda first. Well, first with Western medicine, which is fine to help me, and then Ayurveda. And then Ayurveda helped me up to a certain point. I was ready for something else. And then another teacher would come in and say, okay, let's look at something else. But I believe we all are guided one way or the other if we pay attention.
You paid attention. You paid a lot of attention because it sounds like your life was almost a miraculous way of healing. It just is very interesting. So let's see. We talked about also cleaning up our energy field, and that helps us stay healthy, doesn't it? How do we clean up our energy field? And what happens when our energy field gets full of whatever to make us sick?
Static, noise, jacket, distorted energy field. A lot of things can happen. It might be that we think the world is against us, and then we worry about what could go wrong. We can focus on that. What I do see is sometimes it manifests as physical ailments. It might start out, like for me, I started out as some digestive issues and couldn't sleep, and then later on, I didn't really address the core of it. It became tumor. So I think the longer term issues like chronic health conditions usually can be traced back to something that was unresolved. I had a woman who came in seemingly she was training for marathon. Then one day she woke up and she couldn't run. And she was fine, she just couldn't run. And she did some therapy and it wasn't really getting to the point where she could run again. So she came to see me and I was working with her. And what I found out was there was something about her field that was related to some relationships from her past. Not past life, but just maybe a year or two ago, she broke up and it wasn't resolved. And somehow it triggered hip pain and she couldn't run. Oh. And when we cleared that, the next time she came back 2 weeks later, she said, yeah, I can run now. I can start running. And then next time she said, well, I start running like 8 miles, which is really good. But then what happened was I was like, okay, now you feel better. I believe there's more work for you. And so she was like, okay, we'll keep going. And soon enough, she actually found out that she was able to connect with fairies. She actually forgot, this woman is in her 30s or 40, and she has 2 kids. And she was like, I remember when I was a child, I thought I was a fairy. I have invisible friends, and I'm ready to connect with them again. So sometimes it's about, distortion in our field, but sometimes it's because we forgot who we truly are, the gifts that we have that cause some of the issues. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I think we do have gifts. We have gifts I think everybody can heal. And I think we've forgotten how to do this. Don't you think so? We've forgotten.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You and I talked about the medical professions too. I mean, we can work together with the medical profession, but it's not all about suppressing the symptoms. It's about finding out what's going on and then healing.
Yeah, sometimes it could be the wildest thing that can resolve. I remember early on, I was working with a mother. She had a child, and it was a 6-year-old boy. And one day he had fever, and they went to urgent care, and they sent the child to emergency department. And they suspected that he had a rare form of pneumonia. And so they put him in an isolation ward, and everything looked really scary. And they ran a lot of tests, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And that was stressful for the mother and the kid, right? Mm-hmm. And so I did some remote healing for him. And I also did some work for the healthcare providers. And within 24 hours after doing certain tests, they discharged the kid and said, you can go home now, you can go back to school. And sometimes we just don't really know what the cause is. But that's why I trust spirit guidance and the divine. They know a lot more than me, my human mind.
I was going to ask you if you can heal remotely, but obviously you can.
Yeah. There's something really wild if you're ready for that.
Well, no, that's okay. Everything's energy, so I understand. Energy is energy, right? We're all connected. So is it easier for you to heal remotely or with a person in the room, or does it matter?
Thanks to COVID, I do all my work remotely. So I work people as far as, in Australia,
Wow.
in Europe, in Hong Kong, and people next door to me. It doesn't matter. The distance doesn't really matter. In fact, I think it's better. I have, as far as I can remember, pretty much 99% of my healing is done remotely on Zoom. So maybe I should clarify. There are two possibilities. One is remote healing can be done without the person being aware the healing is being done. So that might be like
you don't need their permission?
No, this is very different. My training is that, we are all part of the collective. It's all one. So we are all connected. So I have heard that you need to get permission. So I feel like as long as I'm doing this, not asking for a specific outcome, yes, I ask for that, but I also make room for whatever is highest and best for that person.
Yes.
So let's just all let the energy takes care of it. As a result, it turns out way better than I think. So one way to do it is I have the mother present and they worry about the child, and I'm like, okay, I work with the mother, and we invite the soul of the child in to work with both and allow that to be resolved, and then both parties heal. The other way to do it is people don't even know. Let's say, we're praying for the world for peace, in a way, that's kind of one way of healing too. So remote healing is kind of like a prayer that you do for others, and people don't know that you're doing it because I'm not aiming for a specific outcome. I'm aiming for what is best and highest for the person.
Yes, I like that. We always say what's best and highest for the person because maybe it isn't best or highest for them to heal right now. Maybe they have to learn a lesson. You never know. I have friends that do a Reiki share, and I give them lists of people I want to send the Reiki energy to, and these people don't even know it's being done. But the intention is good to help them. The intention is very good. Now, can you explain how you connect with the universal energy to clear interferences in a person's energy field? Did we talk about that, how you can connect with the universal energy? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so at least there are two ways to think of it. When I first learned about it, is really learning about connecting with the divine beings from different spiritual traditions. So it might be Mother Mary, it can be Jesus, but it can be Buddha, it could be Tara, from different spiritual traditions. So a lot of times in my work, I call on all the divine beings. So that's the more spiritual route. But if it is about the energetic route, then we're saying, well, because we are made of energy, and we are just like a web of energetic network that we're all connected with each other. If I hone in on my energy and focus on me, hyper focus, and focusing on love and light, let's say to simplify it, then the love and light is going to travel on this invisible superhighway to reach to that person. And so that's one way to think of it. And one other way to consider is that the physical body has invisible layers of energy. And at a certain level outside of the body, there's a layer that transcends time and space. So what that means is that if I take my client to that layer of energy or that network where it transcends time and space, that's when healing can happen a lot faster beyond what the logical mind can truly understand.
Very interesting. I love it. We were talking, I'm stepping back a little bit, but we were talking about how people I know people that are afraid to drive. They get in the car and I'm going to get hit. When I get in the car, I carry my St. Christopher you talked about, I carry, and it's protected me. I can't tell you the things that have happened, and I feel protected. And also I visualize a white light around my car. I never worry about getting hit. I never worry about it.
Yeah.
I just don't. I feel I'm protected. I feel protected, so I'm fine. You help people rise above circumstances, giving birth to your magnificence. That's one of your things, right? So
yeah.
Can you explain that? How you help people rise to circumstances, giving birth to their magnificence?
So thank you for asking that. Circumstances are mostly about the limitations that we perceive in life. It could be the physical ailments that we experience, thinking that we cannot do whatever we want. It could be relationships that we kind of know that it's kind of stagnant, it's not going anywhere, we don't know what we're going to do about it. It could be how we perceive time and money, any of it, anything that we take for granted, or even like oh, there's negative people over there. I don't want to deal with them. So those kind of beliefs and thought patterns don't really serve us. And so the work I do is really helping people to really realize and feel into their core that they are so much bigger than their circumstances. And I find love is a very powerful frequency. When they feel the love, the fear, actually a lot of the people, the struggles we have cause fear to, is coming from fear anyway. And so when love melts the fear, then people are able to rise. And so it might be that they are able to speak into things that they have not been able to speak into with a loved one. It might be having a tumor miraculously just dissolve very quickly because they were so afraid about something and they're willing to let love be a powerful force. It could be that people who have suppressed gifts that they didn't know and they get trapped in a job that they don't like. And when I help them really find the gifts that they have. Actually, I had a woman who is an accountant. And one day she woke up, she started talking to people or spirits from the other side who have crossed over, people who have passed on. And it was really, quote unquote, traumatic for her because she was not trained to do this kind of work. And so they actually asked her to contact me. And so this is kind of from the Ayurveda days, so she knew me already. So she contacted me and then I helped her. And when it comes to talking with invisible beings in the higher realm, it's so important to ground ourselves. And so if we know how to ground ourselves, a lot of things can be done. And we have to be able to root to rise. And rising sounds really great. I want to manifest, I want to heal and all that. And it sounds like really big and audacious, but a lot of people do not know how to root. And think about a tree. The tree needs to have healthy roots in order to grow and thrive. It's the same concept.
Interesting. So are you able to talk to people who've crossed over?
I can. It's not a major gig that I tell people I do because I was trained to connect with the divine, dialogue with the divine. Yes. And I have had incidents where people were sad about the loved ones. And so during the healing, the loved one came over and I related something. It was really sweet. One time I was helping an older woman as she lost her husband several years ago, and she was really distressed. And during healing, I don't even know what came to me, and I just said, butterfly kisses. And she just melted, and later on she told me, that was a thing between me and my husband, and how did you know that?
That's so nice.
And that was just really sweet. What I feel is more of my work is allow people to have a clear energy field, coherent energy field, so that they can be the channel for themselves. Everybody has different destiny, and I feel like I am here to help people get answers for themselves, be the solutions for themselves, as opposed to me telling them what is your life like in the next 20 years. Yeah. Because I think we're able to shape our reality. We're not destined to just live one way.
No, I like that. How can you help people? You help people to fulfill their dreams too, don't you? Sharpen their intuition and explore their innate gifts. There's some things on your website, and I wrote that down. Can we talk about that? How you help people fulfill their dreams, sharpen their intuition, and explore their innate gifts.
Yeah, so I can continue the story about that woman who was trained to run for marathon. And then after she was able to run, and she realized she was able to connect with invisible beings. And a lot of the things that we are not willing to come out and be truly who we are is based on some other old patterns. So with her, it so happens that she is bisexual. And she had a very close relationship with her aunts. And her aunt happens to be homosexual. And so she was really struggling about coming out and tell her family about who she was really. Her dream is, it's okay for me to be with anyone I choose, right? And through our work together, it was right up to Thanksgiving, she decided she's going to come out and tell the family. And actually her mom knew about it for a while and she was okay. It's just that one aunt. And I think a lot of times a lot of people ready to love us and support us with whoever we are if we are able to be our authentic self. But if we're hiding because we're worried about what other people are thinking, and so it's like lie over lies, that relationship is not going to be constructive. So with that aunt, she just chose to isolate herself. But my client gained the love of all the other family members. And she was so proud of herself that she owned who she is. And, this work we have talked about, Pauline, is not necessarily to replace Western medicine. And, her dream so happened, her desire was that she wanted to get Western medicine to support her situation because she's also diagnosed with ADHD. And her thing was really to get the doctor to hear her to get the medication she needed. And I have to respect it. I can't say, well, I'm a healer. I can help you get rid of ADHD, right? And so I actually help her clear her energy field so that she can speak in a way to the doctors so that the doctors can truly listen. You might have heard of people when their energy is incoherent. Like two people can be saying exactly the same thing, but if somebody is not coherent in their energy, when they speak, people don't hear them. But when you're coherent and people can really listen, right? And they can actually pick up what you're saying, even what you're not saying, they pick it up, intuitively. Then all of a sudden we can have better communication. And so for me, I see this specific client, being able to connect with the invisible being is a form of, pulling in her intuition. And her dream is, let's say, to get Western medicine support for her at ADHD and coming out to be okay with her sexuality and getting the love from her loved ones. And that's just all part of the package. Mm-hmm. And her body heals along the way.
Now, you help people to sharpen their intuition. I think intuition is very important. I work on my intuition. I think one gift I have is I have a pretty strong intuition about things. I did a shaman workshop and I found out, wow, I didn't realize how strong my intuition was. So why is it important to have strong intuition? And how do you help people to sharpen their intuition?
Yeah, so, wow, these days, there's all kind of information flowing around. I don't know how one decide what to do, what food, what diet to take, what medication, or which modality go to. There are so many different choices. You can Google it, you can use AI. There's just so much information. They all seem to be true. And granted that they might be true to some people, but it's not for everybody. And how do we know that piece of information being applied at a certain time is right for me at this time in my life? Nobody knows us as well as we. The only thing is that we have to really quiet down the busy mind. That's one way to help people connect with the intuition, because the mind is very busy. I've been learning to call it my intuition. I can talk to the divine, right? I can listen to clients when they don't even really specifically say what is on their mind. I can do that, but yet I notice that my mind is very chattery, and sometimes it's because probably our ancestors in this survival mode, we want to jump into conclusion about thinking what's wrong with the world, and so we want to protect. And it's really supportive in one way on one level, but there's more operating in the survival, emergency, danger mode. Intuition is operating more about this almost like steady flow, very peaceful, almost like a sage.
Trusting.
Yeah, and so it requires stillness. So when our energy field is jagged and busy and noisy, the head is busy with a lot of chatter, it's very hard to access that intuition. Mm-hmm. So there's knowing, but there's also body telling us what is the right yes and no. And the more ready our energy can flow freely, the body can actually inform us what is our true yes or full body yes and what is a no. And when people know what their true yes and no, it's a lot easier. I personally make big choices like leaving my engineering career, buy and sell my home.
Yes.
Based on asking for intuition. It
yes.
really takes a lot of time.
Big choices. Big decisions.
Yes. Yeah, big decisions, and even small decisions. Do I want to call this person or not? Or do I want to do an interview with Pauline or not?
Well, I hope you wanted to. I wanted to say before we end, you offer free consultations, right? And can you explain your consultations and how you help people? They may want to get in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So I offer half-hour free consultation, and the purpose is really to explore what are the top 2-3 concerns a client the person has. And so people might come in with, well, but I have like 10 different things, how can I pick top 2? My experience is when we get clear about what are the top 2, 3 that we really need to address, the others will get addressed. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's like, okay, it's almost like there are all these 10 things, you boil down to what are your top 2, 3 that most, you cannot even be wrong. Like when you come into this space, you talk about the 2, 3 things that bother you, whoever that is. And then I listen and I can trace it back to what is the primary issue or the source or the origin of all these things. And so then I share with them some of the ways they can help themselves or how I can help them, depends on where they're on their journey. And then we craft a path forward. And a lot of times people it's just really about holding the space so that we allow the person's intuition to surface so that they can come up with the right top 2, 3 concerns. Sometimes the conversations might take place in a totally different direction than the person expected or I expected, because we allow the energy to flow so that what needs to be reviewed will be reviewed.
Everything we've said, I think you're teaching people how to live a limitless life. I mean, that's great. And we're going to people will probably want to get in touch with you. So we will put your email and your website on our credits at the end. Thank you so much for your time, Carmen. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you for the opportunity and the team for your help.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Bye-bye.
It's been fun.
Bye. And thank you, folks, for joining us for another edition of Parapsychology Today. And if you liked our show, or if you have some suggestions or people you want to recommend for the show, please contact us at parapsychologytoday24@gmail.com. That will come up on the credits at the end of the show. Also, we want to thank Phil and Kyle for helping us put the show together. Thank you again. We look forward to seeing you soon. Bye. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you.